What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Blue River Bow Hunting Spring Thunder Part 6. I got the West Virginia Turkey Thug on with me this week, David Yeater from West Virginia. How's it going, buddy?
Good, Brett. Thank you again for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a couple months.
Absolutely. We kind of planned this, back
Hmm.
when we did the deer hunting thing, and I can't think of a better person to have on to talk some turkeys because I know you're a turkey maniac, about like I am, but probably
Yes.
worse.
Yes, and my kids are. So, yes, I like the deer hunt, but I always say turkey hunting's my passion. And then I always
Absolutely.
joke around. I always tell people, I said, I'm not the best turkey hunter, but I'm probably the best turkey hunter you know. And
Right.
that's what I say. And it's just, I don't know, it's just something about it. It's awesome. I started it in 1995, and every time I go out, it's better than the first time I went out.
Absolutely.
You know.
So maybe somebody that hadn't heard your deer episode before, maybe just introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. Again, David Yeater, born in West Virginia, raised in West Virginia, went to West Virginia University. Still live in West Virginia. I've moved now. I live in Morgantown, West Virginia. Um, Live about an hour and a half now from the camp, my buddies' camp where I stay, and the several properties that I hunt. But still in West Virginia. Um, People that follow me on Twitter, not so much Facebook. I just started Facebook about a year ago, but on Twitter, people always know I love West Virginia. I always post pictures with Almost Heaven,
Oh yeah.
and like the deer hunt, but turkey hunting is definitely the passion. And my kids love it. I love it. It's just, I don't know, deer hunting, you go and you can make some things happen. Turkey hunting, the goal every time you go, you are trying to make something happen. And I've just never experienced anything like that. I've taught myself. I didn't have a dad that deer or turkey hunted. I didn't have a granddad that took me. So everything that I've done through the years, I've learned myself. And so I always tell people too, sometimes some of the best hunts I've had are the birds that I don't kill.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't video. Somebody just messaged me the other day and said, "Hey, when are you going to start doing videos?" Well, I don't. I did the video kill of Zane's first turkey 3, 4 years ago with a crossbow, out of a blind. That was on a youth hunt. But other than that, I just go. And like I said, turkey hunting's it. So for people that are listening, I'm at David Yeater on Twitter, West Virginia Turkey Thug, and then I'm just David Yeater on Facebook. I do some hunting stuff on there, but I am starting to pick up more friends that hunt and stuff. But I mostly do Facebook for like family stuff. But Twitter is where I mostly post everything related to hunting. Um, People know me by a couple of things. Almost Heaven, I post those pictures. The West Virginia Turkey Thug Countdown.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I like
that's
that just about every day.
Yeah, well, it starts at 100 days. There's actually a program to this. I put some thought into it. I started at 100 days, and then when I get down to 50, I start putting the turkeys.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people are really looking at it. In fact, I think we've talked about her before. There's a Diane that lives up in northern Ohio. It's a big
Oh,
time rabbit hunter, turkey hunter. She and her husband, Michael. She does Twitter on her computer, and she always tells me when the turkeys are always on one line. And she says, "I know it's getting real close."
yeah. How many
Um,
how many turkeys are you at now?
I should be 13.
13.
Yes. Let me double check.
Yeah,
Yep,
you
13. 13 today. And then everybody knows, um, whether it's deer hunting or turkey hunting, that morning, I always walk to the top of the hill and then I'll tweet, "Rise and grind. It's turkey hunting time."
Oh
And I
yes.
just, those are just things that I like to do. It's pretty neat because it's an interaction with the followers. But I have a lot of people that really pay attention to what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome,
It
man.
is awesome.
I definitely I pay attention too. That's why when we had talked on the deer episode before, I'm like, we got to get you back on turkeys. It wouldn't even make no sense to do just
Yeah,
a deer hunting episode with you. We got to
yeah.
get you on for turkeys, and yeah, it's cool, man. I'm actually going to be somewhat in your neck of the woods this weekend. I'm going to Martinsville, Virginia, so I'm going
Yeah.
down, coming down through there this weekend. So
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
my first experience down there in Martinsville, and I'm pretty pumped about that too.
Yeah. Good.
Um, you talked about it a little bit, but tell us how all these adventures and turkey hunting got started.
hmm Well, mostly everything started and takes place in West Virginia. Um, I was in college, senior at WVU, getting ready to graduate, 1993. And that spring, um, my buddies were fall turkey hunting in West Virginia. They'd go down to southern part of the state, and they had been fall hunting. And I said, "Well, what's that all about?" And they said, "Well, it's you basically listen to them on the roost. They fly down, and then you go bust them up, and then you call them back." That was fall hunting. And then my buddy goes, "Well, there's a spring season too." And I was like, "Well, what is all?" I'll be honest, Brett. I don't even remember ever seeing a wild turkey in high school and junior high. In fact, I know I was with my buddy Brad one time, and we were trout fishing over in the mountains. And I said, "What is that?" He goes, "That's a wild turkey." This is 91, 92. So I thought it sounds something very interesting. So I just had started deer hunting in 93. So I went to a back then, an old video store and got a VHS tape, Primos, and I think it was episode one. I mean, that's been a long time ago.
Right.
And Will Primos was on there. And, of course, they had the big VHS cameras, and they're just a lot different. And I just started watching. I just really got interested in that. So fooled around a little bit, 95, and then 96, my buddy said, "We really need to get into this." And I said, "Brad, we really need to do this." And I said, there's a technique called roosting. And he's like, "Well, what is that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's where you go out the evening before and you listen, and then you owl hoot, and you kind of figure out where they are, and hopefully you can set up a little bit better in the morning." And so lo and behold, here we are now. That's how it all got started. Um, Started having kids, and then let's see, Zach, and let's see, 2011, took him on his first hunt and was successful. And then Mallory, my daughter, not on necessarily on the youth hunt, but the year after, got her first turkey. And then Zane, when he was 13. I don't take my kids. I think we talked about this deer hunting. I wait till about 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But from the day I got started to now, I can't get enough of it. And I love
What year did you kill your first bird?
96.
96.
And it was actually with my buddy Brad. We'd gone out to camp, and we went out that evening and roosted, three of them, pretty close to each other. And of course, that was the place he had hunted. He knew exactly, I'll say it 100 times, and you don't say it in deer hunting, but you say it in turkey hunting. Know the lay of the land. I mean, you've heard it on hunting shows. It is so key. And I said, "Well, where are those birds?" And he goes, "They're just down off the ridge there, creek hillside. We've got this low gap, and then the hill goes around the bend to the left." And I said, "Okay, it should be pretty easy in the morning. We know where they are." So of course the next morning we're walking in, they're already gobbling, and we set up just basically over the peak. And I started calling, and I could hear them flying down, and all three of them came up. He could not get a shot. And so I think he had killed his first one the year before that. So he let me take the shot. And that was the first one I had killed in 96. And like I said, that's when the obsession started. And
Yeah.
it's still today. I mean, I can't, I take 2 weeks off now for work. Maybe going to Ohio. I only live 15 minutes from PA. Found out it's very reasonable to get an out-of-state license for about $100 and some, $105, and I found some public land up there. But that's how it got started. And I mean, like I said, every time I can't wait, and it's when the season's over, it's like, oh, now I got to wait 11 months.
Right. Well, I'm sure that first bird definitely got you ignited the
Yeah,
passion that it is today. I'm sure.
it
You,
did.
you touched on it a little bit, and I'm going to steal this question from my buddy Hunter Mueller that I had on a
Hmm.
few weeks ago. What drives you to turkey hunt?
Probably, when you deer hunt, you may rattle, you may grunt. I don't do it a lot. Deer hunting for me is you go sit in a stand, you go sit in the blind, and you wait for things to happen.
Hmm.
Spring turkey hunting is you make things happen. And I tell people I'm the most impatient person there is. I call too much and I call too loud. But when I walk into the woods that morning, I'm trying to create something, whether with myself, my friends. I've called just as many turkeys in for my buddy and his dad. Um, I've called them into a field out of a shanty because my buddy's dad couldn't get into the woods. Okay. And you just make things happen. And it's so, no one can fully understand. When you hear one gobble in the tree, it's loud. When you're sitting on the ground and in West Virginia, and if you're in a hollow or one's coming up the hill and he gobbles facing you, it's just so loud. The ground shakes. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
the most bass thundering sound there is.
spring
And
thunder, baby.
yep, and I know it. And I just went out this past weekend on a management lane. Of course, I'm not going to give the name of it on here because
Oh, absolutely.
I think I found a good little spot because I talked to a local woman about how they fly across her house, but the management area is up on top, and I struck two up. And in fact, the first one was with a hen. She and I got in a little bit of a battle, and they kind of stayed put. Well, then the boss Tom, which I could tell the difference, started gobbling down the hollow, and he was coming. So I literally had to walk and get out of there. He was coming, and of course, everybody says this is when the season needs to be. No, it doesn't.
Mm.
I'm not a biologist, but the season's fine just the way it is. I've killed more birds in May than I probably have in April.
Well, you need
And
them. You need them to. Mating rituals. You need them to repopulate.
yes, yeah, and
I mean, a life expectancy on a wild turkey isn't that long anyway, so you definitely need them to keep reproducing.
absolutely. And I just saw something interesting, Brett. I think it was in PA. They put a ban on a hen, and they just found her. She stayed in the same area. You ready for this age?
Wow. Let's hear it.
9 years old.
What?
They
That's
said it.
crazy.
That's that can't believe it. Most if they make it to their first birthday, that's pretty good. If they make it to their third birthday, that's great. If they make it to their fifth birthday,
That's
that's
above
really something.
average.
But she was 9 years old, and I
I
just
can't.
thought,
That's wild. I having to
yeah,
look that up.
I think it was PA. Ohio just knocked their tags down from 2 to 1.
Yep.
There's, I again, I'm not a biologist, I'm not, but I am a conservationist, so I am concerned about what's going on and what I can do in the world of hunting. Um, I think the predators are huge.
Definitely.
Again, I'm not the DNR. We can kill coyotes. We can trap and kill bobcats. I think that's very important.
Hmm.
Buddy just called me today. Sean killed one in South Carolina. Of course, I'd say, give me the story, man. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Right.
So he's coming up to hunt Ohio. He just told me today, I didn't know this. You can't kill a bobcat in Ohio.
You can't kill a bobcat in Indiana either.
Okay. And that just, again, I'm not a DNR biologist, all that stuff, but it doesn't make sense to me. They're
Well,
predators.
for here, it's because our population is so low on bobcats.
Okay.
Which I'm with you.
Hmm.
Are you wanting the bobcat population to come up? Because that's
Right.
only going to decimate several different things in the process of that. But
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't think they've opened the season on that yet. Even trapping. If trappers get them in their traps, they have to let them loose, which I'd hate to be in a part of that process. But
Hmm.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's still a predator. Coyotes. Coyotes around here are you would shit if you see how many coyotes are around
Oh,
here. I mean,
I saw my first ones out in Iowa. I lived out in Iowa for 2 years, and they were everywhere back
yeah,
in the
like
90s.
I can go out on my back patio, in the evening. Maybe me and the wife want to sit on the back patio in the summertime at night or something, and that's all you hear at night.
Yeah,
They're up.
I
It sounds
know.
like there's 50 of them.
That we've got them bad now in Tyler County, Wetzel County too. I've killed two in deer season. Now I've never called any in, but I will give this quick story. A buddy of mine, Jerry, and I were hunting in Wetzel County 12 years ago at least, and we were working a tom on the other ridge. Could see him once in a while through the trees and everything. All of a sudden stopped gobbling, and I mean, Brett, it sounded like a war over there. That thing was we didn't know what was going on. So we sat there for a little bit and decided, hey, we need to go check this out. We went over, there was feathers everywhere.
Oh, wow.
We figured a coyote was hiding in the brush, and that tom was strutting and gobbling. Because, when a tom turns around, they're done. They have no vision behind them. And that's good for the hunter, but not good for the tom, and especially on a coyote. But you could tell that obviously a coyote had come in there. The coyote didn't make any noise. No barking, no. The turkey obviously was making sounds because it was getting killed. But the feathers were there, and the turkey was gone.
Wow.
And I figured it killed it and took it away. But, yeah, so anyways, like I said, why do I do it? It's like I said, I go in to make things happen, and that's why I love it. There's never been the same hunt twice, whether it's been by myself, and that's the other thing that I tell people. I will turkey hunt by myself, but I don't like to. I like being with one of my kids, one of my buddies' dads. This year I'm actually going to be taking someone that's never been turkey hunting at all.
That's
and
awesome.
I just can't wait, and it's going to be exciting to actually see her reaction if we get a bird to come in, and we'll see what happens. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
cool.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, you talked a little bit when you were talking about scouting that management area.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what goes into your off season and how you scout birds.
Okay. I always used to joke around with people. I don't scout because the farms that I hunt, I know the lay of the land. The birds are pretty much around the area. So the one farm in Tyler, I literally won't go until I hunt it. Okay. And then the other place on the other side of Tyler County, I will, but all I'll do is I'll ride the side by side up to the top of the hill, and then I'll just walk the fields, and I'll listen, and I'll call, not really to scout, but just to hear that gobble. I mean, like I said, 100 years later, here I am. I still just like hearing that gobble. But management areas, I do scout. This one's new, so I was walking. I used the app Onyx, and I like, and like I said the other day when that boss Tom was gobbling, I looked on the Onyx. I knew what it was. It was a saddle ridge with a hollow down to the creek, and that's probably his main area. And then when I used to hunt public land, and when I lived over in Hedgesville, West Virginia, Berkeley, it was called Sleepy Creek, 13,000 acres. And I hunted the northern end of it, and I did scout there because I didn't know the lay of the land. So when I look at scouting, I would say I'm not scouting for birds. I'm scouting to learn the lay of the land, because I have had some weird stuff happen where you thought a bird was going to come straight at you, and it doesn't. People say, they won't cross creeks. Yeah, they will. I called one across one time, and the water was to its feathers. The creek was only 8 inches, 10 inches deep, but it came down the hill and it walked right through that. And then I've had them in the wide open woods come at you, and then other times they don't. But I'm primarily scout so I can learn the lay of the land, because there are some unique things that will hold up or prohibit a bird from coming to you. Fences. Yep.
Some people, and it's no judgment to me because everybody does everything different. But if you were to tell somebody that you were calling on public land or even any other type of land prior to season, you think they'd give you shit for that?
Yeah, because I can tell you the birds that I used to hunt over in Berkeley County, and I killed 3 or 4 in the years that I lived over there. They do get quiet, and I'm sure it's from people. But you also got to remember, our management areas are where people hike. They
Mm-hmm.
like to
You
walk.
used to people.
I mean, I've come in May with a turkey on my back, and here comes a lady walking her dog. And I'm like, and I try to explain to people, but it's public,
Right.
and I'm following the rules. They're following the rules, um, and that's just something to keep in mind. I live near Cooper's Rock now. I'm not going to hunt that. That is a big time. It doesn't worry me, but I know you can get off the trail and stuff, but that's a bigger hiking area than to me a hunting area. But there are birds in there. There's some big deer in there too. But I like sticking to the smaller management areas. But like I said, the regular 3 farms that I hunt in Tyler County, I don't scout. I've been on them hundreds of times. I know the lay of the land. In fact, when we get into a couple of birds that I've killed, where I've called too much, I've called too loud, where I didn't call but 3 yelps, and then where one time I didn't even call at all. And those are the different things the one that I killed last year, I strategically used the lay of the land, and it was just a guess. I said, I hope he's in this hollow today because I'm going to sit on that big oak tree and he's going to come right down the road to me and right to the decoys, and he's mine. Well,
That's awesome.
he was in the hollow. He gobbled his head off. I never called. He hit the ground. The hens started cackling. They started cutting. I was carrying on. It for 45 minutes. It was a circus in there. And all of a sudden, another bird to the left got going, and I thought, well, they're going to come down there and fight right in front of me. I mean, it was the perfect setup. But as you know, Brett, and
It
everybody's
changes
listening to
really
this,
quick.
it can change real quick. And, I'm on the gun. I'm literally waiting for him to come down the old logging road, 35 yards, 12 gauge ready, and it goes silent, quiet for 5 minutes. And I think,
Mm.
what's going on? I'm sitting there like this. I'm moving my eyes. I look to my right. He's standing right to my right at 35 yards in full strut.
Oh,
I never heard him drum. I never heard him walking. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And he stood there, and then he came out of strut, and it was on this rock ledge. He's locked into my decoys. Like, when are you going to move? What's going on down there? And as slow as I could, it probably took me 30 seconds. I moved my body and my gun several degrees until finally I got that bead on the base of his neck and I gave it to him. But they don't always come in how you think they are,
yeah, it
or
never
how you
works
want
out
to.
like that.
Never. But again, I knew that place, but that's just one of the times where I just did calling, but he didn't come in. And then another time on that farm, Zane and I, my youngest son, had gone out and roosted a bird, and I was joking, probably being cocky. I said, I know the exact tree he's in. I said, this bird is, they always say roosted ain't roasted. I said, well, he's roasted. He's roasted. Well, I go in the next morning, dark, and I sit there, and I'm on top of the ridge. There's a logging road below, and I look out to as the daylight breaks, he's in the tree at 60 yards. He starts gobbling.
Mm.
And I thought, I'm actually too close. I'm not going to be able to call and do anything. It took till 7:15. I watched that bird strut and gobble on that limb. I mean, I never called because once you call, they're going to try to pinpoint you. And if they look down and they don't see a hen, they're not going to come down. So finally, he pitched down below me on the logging road. He is now out of sight. I'm out of sight. I didn't even have my mouth calling yet because, when daylight broke, I couldn't do anything. I had my
Right.
net on. I put the gun up, Brett. Didn't even put a call in. I went. 40 seconds later, he was right in front of me at full strut.
That's
Boom.
awesome. That's
10 yards.
that's a woodsmanship and very situational. You knew
Yes.
exactly. Don't call to
Yep.
him up in the tree.
No.
He pinpoint you, but when he hit the ground where he couldn't see, and then you took advantage of him not
Yes.
being able to see. That's awesome, man. I
I
love
think
hearing stories like that.
yeah, I think he realized, well, where'd she come from?
Yeah.
She must have walked it when I was flying down. But he pitched down. Sometimes they'll fly and do the noise. But like I said, I didn't even have a call and I used my mouth. And then, you know, I thought he was coming, but I didn't know. But if you've ever hunted West Virginia, the hills are steep. But first thing you see is the tip of the fan,
Right.
and then you're like, "Oh man, there's no way." And then you see the head, and then all of a sudden, I didn't even let him get fully in front of me. And at this point, he's 10 yards,
Yeah.
and I shot him, and that was the end of that. But that's again knowing the lay of the land, and just knowing some things about you can get them hung up in trees. I hunted out in Wetzel County one time, and years back in the late '90s, kept calling. He gobbled. I'm like, why is that bird not coming? No kidding. I went over there, snuck around, laid on my belly, looked down over the hill. 8 o'clock, he was still on the roost.
I've experienced that myself before.
Yes, and he's waiting. That's what people don't realize, that he's waiting for you to come to them.
Hmm.
And then I've had birds hang up, and then I've looked, and raccoons were going by, or deer would come, and they just they won't fly down. It's one of those things you have to be patient and just be ready for anything to change.
Definitely.
Yes.
When you're talking about calling, tell me a little bit of how you learn to call. Where
Hmm.
did were those was it just the situations that you went through as becoming a turkey hunter and
Hmm.
learning it all to do it all in kind of one motion, so to speak. You learn those experiences and the calling just by being in the turkey woods.
Hmm. When I first started, um, I was into, and I still have the call. It's called the Illuminator.
Yep.
I think Night and
Mad
Hail.
calls.
Yeah,
I thought
Mad.
you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Drury's.
Yep.
And actually, I met Mark Drury out in Pine Grove, West Virginia, and I still have that call. It's the loudest call. Now, this crystal call that I got, but I got into the friction calls, and then of course everybody has a Lynch, and then I got into the mouth calls. I prefer Primos.
Hmm.
I first learned, believe it or not, on a 3.5 reed. My buddies were like, "We that's just crazy because the more reads, sometimes the more difficult it is." But
Yeah.
that's what I learned on. I think it was a triple V cut something, and then I actually still have a call that an old friend of mine, Jeff, made for me. It's actually kind of funny when I got married in '97, he made me a turkey call for a wedding gift.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, and I still have it. I've used it some. It's real soft. You can purl on it, and I just carry that with me because to receive a gift, I think is pretty cool. And like I said, that this necklace are my spurs, but again, a gift. And then if you look behind me, that's actually a whiskey barrel lid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And somebody had that made for me. Barrel, I think it's called Potter Creek out of PA barrels, and it's obviously a turkey fan. That says
Hmm.
West Virginia Turkey Thug out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so gifts are pretty cool. So when that guy made me that, I still carry it in my vest. I think we'll talk about vest,
Yep.
which I say, I never made fun of a woman about her purse because you can't make fun of my vest. Okay, we'll get into what I carry in a vest.
All right.
But anyways, now I'm really mouth calls are my preference. Like I said, less movement. Like I said, I called that bird up and I just had to make soft yelps with my own mouth. I'm not a I'm not a turkey caller. I've never entered a contest. But I always say I'm not a contest caller. I'm a turkey caller.
Yep, same. That
Because
goes with a
yes,
lot of stuff too. Like even like I see on the NWTF the competition calling, and I've seen Ducks Unlimited and all that stuff with the calling competitions for ducks. I would never call to ducks like that, or even turkeys like that. The turkey one's pretty unique. I think it's
yeah,
because they do like scenery and like or whatever. Like
yeah,
I think the one I saw was like it was in quotation marks live turkey, and the
yes,
guy's kind of walking around the stage as if he was a hen just out in the woods, feeding and and then she's yelping and purring and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty neat to see, but
yeah.
I don't think it would quite work for you in the turkey woods.
No, but I do like listening to it. I think it's cool. I mean, I'm impressed with guys that can gobble. I mean, I thought I was big time stuff when I finally learned I could owl hoot with my own voice.
Right.
And, I can rip those off in the morning time and, it sounds pretty good like a barred owl. But,
Mm-hmm.
Now in my vest, I still carry the call that was made for me. I have one box call, um, illuminator. I had a buddy make me a glass call out of Winchester, Virginia, lead face turkey calls. And then I carry this new one. Gosh, I can't think who bought it or made it. I just bought it at an outdoor show in Morgantown, but it's crystal on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually do those pictures too, Brett. So if you want me to send you contact, they'll take any picture and put it under that slate.
That's awesome.
And they actually make it pretty cool. They make half the call crystal clear. You don't call on that, so you can see the picture.
Mm-hmm.
The left side is the side that you could rough up and make it your calling.
Oh, that's
And
pretty
then,
unique.
and actually, I had them over. And then I've got 4 strikers, and then I've got 2 mouth calls, a Primos call, and then I can't remember what the other one is. Yeah. Hardy calls. I just discovered Hardy calls at an outdoor show, and I actually really like the sound of it. It's a 3 reed. But that's pretty much it. I got a crow call. Of course, I use my mouth for an owl call. I do have a barred owl caller. But other than that, that's pretty much it on the calls. And we get into the vest, I'll talk about what's all in there. But, I think there's times where I put the mouth call in and that's all I use for the day. And there's other times, if I'm not getting any gobbles, I'll bring that illuminator thing. I mean, that thing just screams
It
still.
is. I have one as well. And, I have several different tips that work good on it, but it's, I don't want to get this wrong. A carbon stick, I believe, is what
Yes,
it is.
it is.
And that thing will rock a hardwoods. If you're deep in a bottom somewhere, I actually called one of my biggest birds in with the illuminator. Get this, and you probably think I'm crazy. It was raining, and when I say it was raining cats and dogs, and I'm thinking, well, this freaking blows. I'm just sitting on the field edge. I'm like, I got to stick to this field. They're gonna come out in this field sooner or later from somewhere. And he actually gobbled probably 60 yards to my right down in this ravine.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, there is no way in hell that this call is going to work when I pulled it out of my pocket because it was just pouring down. I made a few calls to him. He gobbled back. Next thing I know, he's right in front of me. There was actually 2 of them.
Okay.
And I had a fence in between me and the birds. And I was like, well, yeah, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah.
So I tried to call again, but this was with my mouth call because I didn't want to move. And he actually made a turn and came up the ridge a little bit to me. And by the time he got where I could get a shot off, he was about 20 yards. But between that barbed wire fence, he stuck his head damn near right in in one of those openings, and I just let him have it.
Yep. That's awesome. We were talking before we started the show. A guy sent me, David Williams on Twitter, sent me a haze call last year with an all-weather striker. That thing's really cool. And like I said, I've got a wood, carbon, all-purpose, and I use them for different things. I mean, you'll get different sound. I mean, you can use a different striker, like on Twitter, I was telling you before the show, Steve West Augusta, he makes the strikers, and there's just different sounds, different ones. I like to mix it up and do those kind of things as well.
Definitely. You're going to have to get on David. I have tried to get
Yeah.
David on this show probably 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
He says he's not much of a talker, but I know that dude's. I just want to. And it was really, I asked him to come on and talk deer hunting because
Mhm.
he's killed some absolute giants.
He
Ribcage is
has.
one of the biggest
Yes.
8-pointers I think I've ever seen anybody kill, period.
That's
And
amazing to hear.
he just said he wasn't much of a talking guy, but I was like, oh, come
Yeah, he
on.
does some live things.
Yeah.
I think he's what, in Kansas.
Yeah, he's in Kansas.
I think their season. I think it just started this past weekend. I think he tweeted today saying he heard him up on the hill or wherever. How I don't know how. What
I think Kansas is different kind of compared to like where we're at because they get like a bow season for birds before people get to go after them with a gun, which
Okay.
I think is very unique, and I think a lot of states should maybe think about that and adopt it. But like we had talked about earlier, maybe you still want them to breed a little bit before you get people chasing them around.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Talking calls. I kind of wanted to name drop a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to have the call maker from Appalachian Custom Calls on, Jonathan Scholl. He's going to be coming on with me in a few weeks. And I bought a 3-pack. It was called the Tennessee Trio.
Okay.
Some custom made mouth calls he's got going on up there. Can't wait to get them and try them out. My turkey season's kind of shrinking a little bit. We got some personal stuff going on at home right now, and I was going to go down to Kentucky for their opening weekend, but that got changed. So going to do Indiana. Basically, all our opening day in Indiana is on a Wednesday. So I've taken Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. So I get Wednesday through Sunday basically to hunt. And then the weekend before that, the weekend of the 23rd, I got invited and drawed for a Michigan hunt up there. Got drawed for a tag and knew some people that got quite a lot of birds and have been sending me videos and getting me all fired up. But like you said,
awesome.
roosted ain't roasted. But I think I'm going to be in the thick of them up there in Michigan, and I'm pretty pumped up to try to chase a bird in a state I've never hunted in before.
Oh, that'll be really cool. And just the flip side of it, if you want to jump into decoys, not really big into the decoys. I've used them. I have the basic what I would call the foam ones that fold up, stick in the back of your vest. 2 years ago, Steve Henson of Sentinel Decoys sent me ones to try out, 2 or 3 jakes, and then I'm sorry, 2 or 3 hens and then 1 jake. They're very unique. They're if you've ever seen his calls, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to like.
It's all about the angle of it, right?
Yes, and I don't. But when you come in and you look at every time you move, it looks like the full bird or deer, and he's really done some great things with it. But those decoys actually require their own carrying bag. So I have a basically what I would call like if you ever played baseball, the green bag that you carry your bats in. I kind of have that for the decoys, but I like the foam decoys that I can put in the back of that vest. I've used them. If I say percentage wise of how much I use decoys and not, I'm probably a 75 without decoys and a 25 with decoys. That's just my preference. I like to tuck up against a tree and have that bird come looking for you. There's been times where I should have had a decoy out, and if I had one out, it didn't work. You just don't know. There's no proven method. I've never had any attack, but the first tom that Zane killed, he's 4 years ago now. I went out the day before, put up a blind. He said, I want to try to kill one with a crossbow. I'm like, seriously? Come on, Zane. They're hard enough with a 20 gauge or 12 gauge, and you want to go with a crossbow. So anyways, I put the blind up on the point. Next morning we went in, and this is a different style of hunt for me. I prefer the method of run and gun.
Same.
West Virginia has ridges. I love to go high and go as far as I can on these ridge tops and see what I can work on the side. But anyways, after daylight, we had some gobbling down to the left. And again, I know the lay of the land. That's right in the hollow where I have a log pile. I deer hunt in there. I've killed a coyote in there. I know those birds are probably roosted on the other property, and they're going to get down in this hollow and do their thing. So they fly, and again, you're in a blind. I'm doing some light calling, acting like we're in the field. You got to wait till it's pure daylight. And then all of a sudden, I could tell the flock was going away. So I thought, well, if I'm running and gunning, I try to get out ahead of them, or I'll go do some type of maneuver. I didn't know what to do. So I get out of the blind, and, I don't have a weapon because it's youth hunt. I'm not allowed. So I literally jogged down to the fence where I always cut in to go to the log pile, and had my mouth called, and I yelped 3 or 4 times, and 2 of them gobbled. I said, okay, they're probably 150 away. I wait 2 minutes. I yelp 3 or 4 times again. Now one of them's 100 yards away. And I thought, he's turning around. So I gave one more call, and I could tell he was coming. Brett, I'm 51 now, so I'm 47 at the time. I don't have any sprinting skills left in my age. I was fortunate to run track at WVU back when they had a men's program in the early 90s. So I did the best sprint that I could. Up the hill, I'm running, jogging, I don't know. Thank goodness nobody's videoing me. I go to the blind. I literally get in, and I turn around, and I zip the blind down, and I look at Zane, and I said, he's coming. And Zane says, I know, he's right there. Oh, he's already at the barbed wire fence strutting. And I thought, that is unreal. Now, we had 2 hen decoys out and a Jake up on this point. So he's down here. We're up here. Blinds right here. The decoys are out in front of us, 15. So he's strutting, and I'm not calling anymore. I'm assuming he's seeing the decoys, but I don't know that for sure. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he just, how they do it. They'll bend down, they'll tuck their neck, and come underneath. And then back then on Twitter, we had that, remember Periscope?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I turned on Periscope and started videoing him. And that's live. It's not a recording. It's live. And everybody's on there watching. And at that time, that was years ago, maybe had like 4 or 5,000 followers. And everybody, they can message you. He's coming. He's literally he's in strut, zigzagging across this field. And he's coming up to the decoys. He gets up on top. Zane and I are in the blind. He's on the Primos trigger stick. And he's just dancing and strutting around, mostly the Jake. He's not real happy at that Jake. And then I keep saying, Zane, can you shoot? No, Dad, I don't have a good shot. I mean, he's like right there in front, and I'm just sitting there thinking, 3 minutes. How long is this bird going to sit here and just strut?
Right.
And then I cut the Periscope off and flipped on my phone video, and I started videoing. And then about 2 minutes, that bird just strutted off to the right. And then Zane says, I got a shot. And he released that bolt. And I mean, I could hear it. And he said, did I get it? And I said, I think you did. Of course, it turns and runs, and then it just tumbles.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just sat there and I thought, I know kids have killed one earlier, younger, whatever weapon used. I don't care if it's legal. If you want to use a crossbow, a shotgun, a 243, a 30-06, I don't care. I don't care as long as it's legal. But I sat there, Brett, and I thought, this 13-year-old just killed a wild turkey with a crossbow. And I just had never done that before. That was a totally different style for me, but it worked. And so by 7:30, he had his first turkey with a crossbow. And I just thought that was really cool.
You don't get the youth hunt anymore, do you?
Actually, this will be Zane's last one. He just turned 17. So this is the last year he can go. So we're going back. It's Easter weekend, so we're going back. That's where my parents still live in Payton City, West Virginia, and then the places I hunt are just 30 minutes away. So, yep, we're going on that Saturday morning. And, I told him we don't, for the last couple of years, we don't sit in blinds for turkey hunting. We like to run and gun, and so he'll take the 12 gauge. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Sunday. We can hunt on Sundays in West Virginia, private and public. So I'm looking if we might have to hunt, and then I'll go to camp and stay. Like I said, I'm off 2 weeks.
So your season comes in on a Monday there.
Monday the 18th. The youth hunt is the 16th and 17th, and then our season starts, and it runs for 5 weeks now. Yeah, West Virginia used to start on the fourth Monday, and that can vary. It can be sometimes as early as the 20th, as late as the 27th, depending on the calendar. Well, then a couple of years ago, they passed public hunting, private land on Sundays, and now they gave us a 5 week season, and then they pushed it to the third Monday. So that can be as early as the 15th sometimes to as late as maybe the 20th. But like I said, I'm a conservationist. I'm not a DNR guy. I'm not a biologist, but I'm really happy with our seasons. I think they've timed it out right. Yeah, the birds are gobbling their heads off right now, but they're not breeding. And you need that process to happen first. I've killed a lot of birds in May. In fact, on that public land in Sleepy Creek, a buddy of mine called, Matt, we lived over there, and he said, man, I haven't been able to go much. You want to go? I said, Matt, I live outside here town. I said, I haven't heard a bird gobble in 2 weeks. I said, I think they're all done. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's like May 24th, which is really late for us. Like PA, probably Michigan, the higher up you go with the latitude lines, it's different. I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's see what we can get into. 15-minute hunt.
Wow.
We walk in. I'm walking out. I owl hoot. 3 of them gobble, and they never stopped. We got set up. We're literally thinking, okay, we're going to kill 2 birds. They come down that main hiking path. I mean, it's a logging road. It's, 10, 12 feet wide. Full strut, all 3 of them gobbling their heads off like the first day or late April. And one's in front of me. Matt was on the tree beside me, and he couldn't get a shot. And then finally, after 5 minutes, he's like, dude, kill one. And I did. And I was actually amazed that I had taken a bird on like May 23rd, May 24th. And they gobbled their heads off. I just mentioned something. I do want to talk to people that, whether you're an expert, and then, like I said, I'll say it again, and I say it joking. I'm not the best turkey hunter there is, but I'm probably the best turkey hunter you know.
I love the attitude.
I do. Well, I love to get tips, but I'm also not a fool. Been fooled a lot of times with toms, but I like to listen to people too. So when you tell a story or you tell me something that's worked, I listen. I emphasize to people, when you hunt together, sit side by side.
Definitely.
So you can whisper. If you're both trying to shoot, don't stagger. Don't. Now, I have sat behind people, but I'm not the shooter. In fact, one of the birds that my buddy's dad missed, the move that worked was I got back behind him at 75 yards and started calling, and that Tom thought the hen was leaving and literally walked almost on his legs.
Wow.
And he missed because the wad was probably about the size of a baseball when it came out. And, but I have used that word, and when you're taking kids, I mean, kids are fun, just remember this too. Your hunt's you're going to create memories. That's the whole idea of taking them. But always remember that hunt could most likely be shorter that day. Not all kids are built to go in the woods and stay all day. There are kids that are, but mine have done pretty much in the middle of that. But sit side by side, first of all, so you can whisper if you have to, because anything can happen when you're hunting. But just to be there, and I talked about this in deer season, if we're sitting in a blind or a double stand, I love being there, and still coaching or just offering any last minute tip and anything that can help that person be successful. But, it's just, accidents can happen. We don't have a lot in West Virginia, but I know 2 people that, one was shot and wasn't killed, but then I do know somebody that was shot and they were killed because the person had fallen asleep and the other person was using a shaker tube, a gobbler tube, and a hen call. And when they woke up, they picked the gun up and shot.
Wow.
And that's just a positioning thing. But when you look at hunting, whether it's deer hunting, you look at turkey hunting, it is very safe. It's a great opportunity activity with your kids. I mean, I can't wait to take my kids. The youth hunt, if we don't do that anymore, I'll still take my kids during the regular season, and I do a lot. And it's just one of those things that it's very, very enjoyable to either be with your friends or be with your family. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. I was going to talk to you a little bit about maybe like some situational calling.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, what's your go-to on like maybe if you're going to do some kind of, tree calling, some, a fly down cackle or something like that. What's something that you would go to maybe pre him flying off the roost?
Right. Probably about 15 years ago, I was really big into the fly down cackle. I had a real hen wing that I would have in my vest in the back, and I love doing it. I mean, if you've ever done a fly down cackle and you beat the wing and you do it right, the birds will double and triple gobble. But then sometimes they won't fly down as much. Right. So I've kind of faded out of that. Probably my regular routine is, whether I'm hunting the one farm, is get to the highest point that I can and then wait for them to wake up. Maybe give you a gobble, hey, I'm here or I'm there or whatever. Sometimes I'm not very patient and I can't wait for that. So I start ripping off the owl hoot and making them gobble, because I want to be where I need to be when it's still mostly dark. I mean, the sky's always going to light up first. If I do believe this. If they're down below you and you're walking a ridge, now you're in that skylight. Right. And I do believe those birds can see you. They may not know that you're a human versus a deer or something, but I like to be where I need to be when it's mostly dark. Then I can get set up. I can put my face net on, do that kind of stuff. So the fly down, actually, I don't even have the hen wing in my vest anymore. My process or routine is usually wait, or like I said, owl hoot, and get them going. Now, sometimes they gobble a little farther off or further off, and you've got to move. I like to listen, but once he starts gobbling hard, then I try to create the situation that, I'm now on the ground. Because if you tree yelp and continue to do that, I think he'll wait in the tree and then expect you to come over there. Now, again, this doesn't always work, and there's different scenarios that you have to think about. But, my ideal position is at about 100 yards. I like to either see or listen for that bird to hit the ground. In West Virginia, it's pretty easy to do because of the hills and the way the hollows are and stuff like that. If I'm in a bottom and they're in a bottom, then I just kind of wait. But, like I said earlier, I like to call. I call too much and I call too loud. And I do like to do that. And there's times where birds don't come in or they'll come straight in. But like I said, I like to try to make things happen and create those things. Once I think the bird's coming, I do gear down. But I'll give you this scenario. One time, Zach and I were on this top ridge, and my hearing's not the best anymore. Unfortunately, many rock concerts at the Wheeling Civic Center back in the 80s and 90s. So Cinderella, Def Leppard, Aerosmith, AC/DC.
Now you're talking my language.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to the summer concert in Cleveland this summer with to see Def Leppard, Poison, Motley Crue, and
Motley Crue. They're having the same one here in Indy, and I wanted to go myself as well. I'm a huge Motley Crue guy, and tickets on that are steep. I mean, you're talking about nosebleeds for $150 a piece.
Yep, I got great seats. I got two for 500. And they're right on the. I didn't want on the floor because I was afraid the stage was going to be higher. And once everybody stands up, put their hands up, you can't see them. So I got on the side. It's in Cleveland where they play football.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, anyways, the hearing's not the best. Zach kept saying, "Dad, I think that bird's coming along that ridge." We're on my buddy Matt's farm, and it's a ridge, and then it tees, and then this one little ridge kind of fades and goes down a point, but the other one goes out this way. And so I said, we better get ready. And so that was a bird that would gobble, and then I would call and he would gobble, but he was also coming. So I just kept giving it to him, call and gobble, call and gobble. And then all of a sudden he pops in front of us over that ridge at 35 yards, and Zach's able to shoot him. And, you know, I think Will Primos or somebody used to always say, you have to take the temperature of the bird. What they're doing, and I do that, but then there's times where I just, there are no rules. I'm going to do what I want to do. I mean, they're not going to call. I'll tell you the story here in a minute where I never made a call at all. I actually did a sneak attack and crawled on a creek bottom, and birds were in the field, and I popped my head up at 30 yards, and there they were. So I never made a shot, but and it was a bird that was actually limping. Obviously, he'd been fighting a lot, missing a tail feather and stuff. So he was an old warrior. Yeah. And I would have, you'd never going to call that bird. Zach and Zane can testify to this. We have, I don't know where he is. It's been several years now. We had a bird called Tank, easily probably 23, just looking at him, 2 missing feathers. And I actually missed that bird the year before, and he was really big then. I had worked him. He was on a hen. I could hear it. They were so close, Brett, down over the hill. I could hear him flogging her, and I just sat there and waited. And then I could hear her literally fly off, like she went across this ridge point and down the valley she goes. And I mean, he just started gobbling, because he had heard me up there. So he's thinking, okay, there's maybe a hen or two up in the field. And when he came out, it was the same bird. I mean, because I think this is true. When they lose tail feathers, they don't grow them back. I've heard that. This bird we've seen for 2-3 years, he was missing 1, then 2. And it doesn't affect their flying or anything they need to do, because I think the wild turkey has, 15? How many feathers do they have in the fan? It's the same.
Yeah.
I know that. And I actually ended up missing him. And then the next year, Zach and I were on him, and then we'd see him in the field. But, the point is those birds are tough. And the older they get, you get a 3-year-old, you get a 4-year-old. I do believe the less calling you do is the best. The bird that's behind me is a Tyler County bird. That bird was 24 pounds, 11-inch beard, probably inch, maybe an eighth, not very big spurs. But I killed that bird because, first of all, it was 30 degrees that morning. And, you don't wear bibs in turkey season, because you wear the thin pants and camo long sleeve shirt and a coat. And I had walked in it and I was warm, but when I'd sat down, the flock of birds, and I'm saying, I knew there was a tom, I knew there was jakes, and I knew there were hens, and it was all about position. And I just guessed right. And again, I was calling, but I thought they were going to circle up high and then circle onto the flat and then come right at me. Well, that's exactly what they did. And sometimes you guess right on that position. He sent the 2 jakes first as the bodyguards, and they literally just walked right past me. I mean, I'm talking 5-6 yards. They're kind of looking at me, but again, once you get down and hunker down, at this point, I'm not doing any calling. The hens are still calling. He is gobbling his head off. He comes out in front of me, gobbles, there's steam coming out of his mouth, 15 yards, boom, he's over. So that bird obviously was a great bird. The other big one that I told you before the show, and I didn't know there was a scoring system over 10 years ago, is 24 pounds, 1.5 inch spurs, 3 beards at 10. 10, 7, and 6.
Fucking tank.
It
Talk
was
about tank. That's a tank.
that. Well, here's the story. So on Thursday, I go into Sleepy Creek management area. And you know there's hunters around because once in a while you know the difference between someone calling and a real hen. And it's usually somebody with a box call, and you hear that little slap at the end.
Yeah.
And I had heard that on Thursday. I saw that bird and knew he was a good one. He was not leaving the hens in that flock. I'm sorry, it's Friday. Saturday, same thing. I get on him early. He was just not coming. That flock would not come, so he's not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Can't hunt on Sunday. So Monday morning, of course, I can work from home, but I'm like, you know what? I've got a couple hours. I'm just going to go one more time. So that's May 10th, I believe it was, and I'm literally walking in at 5:30. That's Berkeley County because the sun comes up in the east. It's almost pure daylight. And I'm walking down the logging road, and he scares me because he's in a tree at 40 yards to my right and gobbles at me because I'm walking. I don't know if he thinks I'm a deer. He doesn't know what I am.
Right.
And I mean, I looked up and I was like, wow, there he is. And there's no other birds around. And I'm like, well, I'm dead meat because he's going to see me. Well, I slowly get against a tree. Now, this is 5:30 in the morning. 6:30, he's working his way up on the ridge. He's gobbling. He's doing it. And I'm calling about every 15 minutes. 7:30, still walking around gobbling. At this time, I heard a hunter to the left and a hunter to the right. They now know that this bird is – I don't know if they know I'm down there, but now there's 3 hunters on this bird. Like in the middle. 8:30, he had the shotgun. He crosses the logging road at about 60 yards. And I thought, now what do I do? He's now below me, and there's a flat. And I think, how am I – this bird – something's got to make this bird break. It's not the calling. There's no other birds around. First time he's alone. So I just sit there. And I had the mouth call in. So I started purring real softly. And then I took my right hand and just started raking in the leaves. Just purring and feeding. And then I stopped doing that. And then I got that call that my buddy made. It's a real soft slate. And I would purr with my mouth call and purr with that call. So thinking, well, now there's maybe 2 hens up there. I put everything away. I put the gun up. Boom. There he is. He's coming on that flat. I guess it was the feeding, purring sound that maybe broke him. And he walks right to me at about 30. He never strutted. He never gobbled. He didn't gobbled in 30 minutes. And I shot and killed him. And that's the bird that was 24 pounds, 3 beards. And then one of the hunters came down, actually took the picture. And he even said, "Did you get him?" I'm like, "I think that's the one." He said, "This bird gobbles all the time, but nobody could kill him." And
Awesome.
And then I told him, I said, this thing has 3 beards. And it was unbelievable. Like I said, I'd gone to a National Wild Turkey Federation banquet and told them about it. And they said, that's really too bad. You should have had it scored because that's a top 10 West Virginia bird.
That's awesome.
Because 24 pounds, the spur, like I told you, the scoring system with the beard, the spurs, and the weight. But, that's okay. But, public land and private land with turkey hunting, man, it can be exciting on either place.
Definitely.
Whatever you have access to.
I've never killed a bird on public land.
Really?
I've always had, been lucky enough to hunt strictly private land, and I've been with people when they've killed birds on public land, but I've personally never killed a bird on public land. Yeah,
I was with my buddy Darren one time. He lived in Virginia, and he said, "Hey, let's meet on the southern end of Sleepy Creek." And I was like, "Darren," I said, "I've stopped there 3-4 times coming home from work and called and owl hooted on my way to work and I've never heard a bird in there. It just doesn't seem like a good turkey." He's like, "I'm telling you, man, when I bow hunt in there in the fall, there's birds everywhere." So I'm like, okay. So lo and behold, that morning we go in there and there's one goblin. and we set up on it. Darren had a gun, I had a gun, and that bird came right down, and he couldn't get a shot, and I finally got a shot on it and killed it. So, you just never know. It's just amazing where you think you've got them figured out or where they are and what they're going to do, and that's not how it works.
And then they put the whipping on you.
I've had a few misses, and I've had, like I said, some of the best turkey hunts I've had are the ones I don't kill. Zach and Mallory and I were hunting one time, and we think Tank didn't come, but he sent his younger son, a 2-year-old, and it came right up beside Zach, right to his right. Zach couldn't get the gun on him. He was right there. And it was just frustrating because, they'll do that too. They'll sneak in on you. And then I got to tell this last story. When Zane and I have killed birds on the same day, about an hour apart, but Mallory and Zane, I needed, they really wanted to go hunting one more time. It was the last day of the season, and we lived in Payton City. So we go to the Bonner farm, and we had about 3 hours to hunt. My daughter's graduating from WVU, so we literally have a couple hours. Mallory hadn't killed one yet, and Zane may have killed one, but he still had another tag. And then, of course, I had killed one. I always save a tag because in West Virginia, I can't take anybody if I'm tagged out. Mm-hmm. So I always save an open tag so I can take people. And that's okay because I just want to be in the action, and then whoever kills it, that's fine. So at daylight, we get on a flock, and a tom snuck to our right. Mallory couldn't get a shot. And then finally the flock came up, and there was a couple of toms, and I pointed the one out. Again, we're actually, all three of us are on a huge oak. I bet you the oak tree was 20 feet around. All three of us are sitting on the same oak tree. Dang. And so she shoots, kills that bird. And this was actually kind of funny. Calls, I said, you need to call your boyfriend and tell him. Calls her boyfriend. They had just killed one. He and his brother just killed one. This is the last day of the season, around May 15th. Then, so we take pictures and do all that. We get back to the side-by-side, and Zane's like, how much time we got? I go, we got less than an hour. We go on the other end of the property. I strike up two. We get the decoys out. They come off the right-of-way down into the field. Zane has a gun. I have a gun. Zane shoots one. Brett, the other one, just walks in front of me. I stand up. I just sit there and stare at it. I don't even put the gun up. I was just so amazed. I think I was running through my mind. Mallory just killed one an hour ago. Zane just killed one. And then the tom that was with the other tom, and I just kind of froze and watched it. And I was okay with that. But yeah, that was okay. But, two birds in about 2 hours. That's awesome. So we get back, and of course I have to clean them up, and we have to go to Morgantown for my daughter's graduation. But those are the stories that you never forget. Oh, you tell them over and over, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely. I know you had kind of put a mark in wanting to talk about hunting with friends and family, and it sounds like you do quite a bit of that, which it's definitely a special thing.
Yeah. Buddy Matt, who owns the one farm, hadn't killed one in a couple of years, and was like, man, I want you to take me to my place. And cause I hunt there without him. And I said, yeah, let's go. And we showed up that morning, and we go clear up to the top of the hill. And I mean, they're gobbling like 300-400 yards down. And he's like, man, we got to get down there. And I said, well, let's just go about 100 and let's see what happens. So we get set up on this one flat. I call it a horseshoe, or a bowl hollow, whatever you want to call it. And then I start calling, and then the hen's getting louder. And I said, I think they're coming. And it's real thick, though. There's briars and all this. And we literally had this one opening about 5 feet. And I told Matt, I said, you better get ready. I said, if they come, they're going to come right through that. I called it a garage door because it was so thick, but that's all you had was that opening. That hen come through there first, and I looked over at my buddy, and that gun's just just wobbling enough. And I know he's excited. And I'm excited because I don't care how old you are, this never gets old.
Definitely.
That thing walked through that opening and that head was so blue. And I just said, shoot. And he did. And he got it. And, whether it's that buddy, my buddy's dad, my other buddy, Brad, hadn't killed one in a couple years. And we had walked this ridge probably 4 times, but then we finally got one gobbling. And then, of course, there's a hen with it. But I ended up calling that one up. Brad killed that one, his buddy's dad. Trying to think who else maybe. That's probably about it. But no, the friends and family thing, I like the deer hunt, but the turkey hunting, it's really special. Like I said, it's an obsession, it's a passion, and I like to share that. And it's kind of cool. Like I said, I'm by no means I'm not an expert. Obviously, I'm not. I don't have my own TV show, but again, I think I know enough where people like to go with me, and they rely on me. Yeah, they rely on me, and I think that's pretty cool. And I really enjoy that. But again, not naive enough to where I don't listen. Whether you talk about a story or somebody, I think you can always gain some knowledge, some tip, just something that may help you. I've got a guy that lives near the one farm that I hunt, and he he doesn't hunt, but he lets guys hunt. Let me get some water.
You're good.
And he's been messaging me frequently. They're gobbling on the roost. They're gobbling about an hour now. So he's giving me reports, and I just love that. Yeah. And, like I said, I do a deer countdown, but I don't know, the turkey hunting is just really special. And you thank the DNR, and you thank the National Wild Turkey Federation. I think I just saw a quote today. I should have pulled it up. It's something like, there'd be no hunting if there wasn't conservation. And of course, there wouldn't be any conservation without hunting. And I think those things go hand in hand. I think we've done a great job. I think the National Wild Turkey Federation has just done great. I know in West Virginia, we didn't have a lot of turkeys in the north and central and all that. So they trapped and basically brought the turkeys over from our mountains and stocked. I do believe that we had a lot of turkeys in the 90s after they restocked and those things populated for a couple of years. It was very common to walk a ridge in Wetzel County and hear 10, 12 birds on a spring morning, all over. Now you might hear 4 or 5. You and I were talking beforehand about, my biggest concern are the coyotes and the bobcats, and, people hunt them, people trap them, and I'm all part of that conservation. Those are predators. I think there are less turkeys. I mean, when I first started in the 90s, we were killing 15, 16,000 toms a spring. I think we're down to about 10 or 11. And, but I think we do a great job. We have an electronic game checking now. That makes it so easy. I mean, whether it's a deer or turkey, I hunt high enough in Tyler County. I get great cell reception. I can check that bird in right away. And I always tell people that, that's so important.
Definitely.
You follow the rules, you follow the regulations, but, check your game in. That's how things are calculated, or they decide on what, how many you can kill. Like we were talking, Ohio now, I think it's 1 tag.
Yep.
I think PA still 2. We're at 2, but actually we have 2 spring and 1 fall. I don't fall hunt. That's just one thing I'll mention here, and just don't ask me any questions about it. I just don't fall hunt.
Yeah.
It's different. I told you before the show, my buddies would fall hunt, or I told you during the show that that's how I got into it. But I've killed a couple in the fall with a bow, but for me, it's different than deer. And here's one of the things I'll just say, and then people are going to agree or disagree, but I don't care.
Right.
Don't kill a hen. We need every hen to lay eggs, because if she lays 10 eggs, probably 4 of those actually hatch. And then you get a couple of turkeys out of that. I know with doe management, and things like that. But, one of my buddies always said this: every time you kill a doe, you're killing 2 or 3 deer.
Right.
And there's some truth to that. So, you think about those things, but the wild turkey has got a very challenging, weird life. Um,
Got a lot of things chasing it.
and I think those poults, Brett, people can look this up. Once they hatch, I don't think they can fly for 3 days. And so I know I've seen this one time in Wileyville, Wetzel County. I was going in, it was kind of dark. And then there was a hen. I looked up and could see it in the skylight. She was on an angled log. And I looked down, there's like 6, 7. I thought they were chickens, like little chickens or ducklings. They were the little turkeys. And I talked to somebody and they said, no, for a couple of days, they can't fly up. So I don't know if they run around all night. I don't know what they do.
They better stay quiet.
They better stay real quiet. But I've seen them. Eventually they can fly up and then they get under her wings. I've actually seen that. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
I've flushed them off the nest. I always tell people, don't ever disturb that nest. I mean, I will go over and peek because I like to count the eggs. I don't get that close to it, but it's really neat to see all the different things that, Jakes will do and Toms will do and hens will do and Jennies will do and poults will do. And then just the wild turkey itself, it's got a really hard life and then the winter, they survive by eating food on the ground. And if that ground's covered with ice and snow for months, like deer, they're going to have a hard time. And, but
definitely.
Yeah, but it's, I think it all goes to that conservation. And I think we do a great job with hunters on how we manage deer hunting and turkey hunting and everything else. And it's just important to always follow the rules.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. But I definitely appreciate you coming on and, telling us some stories and some tips and stuff on how you like to do it there in West Virginia. It's been pretty fascinating, pretty cool to hear, somebody else's side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But tell everybody where they can find you at on social media.
Okay. On Twitter, at David Yeater. And then whatever the other name is, it's West Virginia Turkey Thug. I am on Facebook too, and that's just under David Yeater. Now, Twitter's where I do all the hunting stuff, and then Facebook is I mostly do it for family and personal stuff, but I've seen there's a lot of guys on there that are posting their pictures and stuff, and so I like to do some things on there as well. So that's where I am. I always, anybody that follows me or friends me on Facebook, I usually turn around and do the same. I think now I'm at is it 10.6K followers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I like that. I think it's really, people will say I never get on there and I don't get much into politics. I don't complain that, Kansas won the national championship last night and North Carolina didn't, or, I'm a Mountaineer fan, and we've had a lot of frustrating seasons and disappointing seasons, but, and I don't get on there and argue with people. I like to post kids about my kids, whether it's sports. I like to post about hunting. I like to tell people congratulations, and I like to see their pictures.
Yeah.
I love that, and I look forward to that. Thank goodness Alabama and other southern states, their turkey seasons have already started, and I just that helps me get to my season, and then of course I do the countdown, and we're getting close, 13 days away.
Can't wait.
I can't wait either. So when's your first day in the woods?
My first day in the woods, I got a while. I don't get to turkey hunt until April 23rd. That is the weekend that I'll be in Michigan that weekend.
Oh, okay. So you're not even going to be able to hunt Indiana first.
Nope. Indiana will be just a couple days later. I'll hunt the 23rd and the 24th in Michigan, and then the 27th is our opener, and I'll hunt 27th on a Wednesday till Sunday. So and then after that, it's kind of a toss up. I don't really know what's going to happen after that. It's kind of going to be by the seat of my pants. Whenever I get to go, I get to go. But I'd really like to be able to take a bird in Michigan and then, go with some people in Indiana or travel to wherever, maybe video some people or call for somebody or whatever. I know Paul Campbell with the National Wild Turkey Federation, he had talked about maybe hooking up with me here in Indiana and checking out some public land, and he had some clients through the NWTF that had some property that he was able to access to, and I was basically going to be a cameraman, but I am more than okay with that as long as I get to tag along, and film stuff. I'm going to be pretty jacked up about it.
That's awesome, and I'm the same way. Like whether I'm hunting or I'm the guide or just being involved in it. Like I said, I'm trying to hunt maybe Ohio and then PA since I live really close to PA. They've got some great public land in Pennsylvania, and the license is not bad at all. I think it's about $105 or something to turkey hunt. But so yeah, folks, check me out on Twitter and Facebook, and then like I said, I like to see what everybody's doing on there, and and I just want to thank you again, Brett, for having me.
Absolutely.
I know we did this deer hunting show, but I just it is a passion. It's an obsession.
We've only been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, but you could tell stories, I'm sure, all night.
Yeah.
I could tell stories all night too, but it's always fun to get on here and talk to somebody turkey hunting, and I knew this would be a great episode because you have such a passion for it. I mean, it's literally in your title name on Twitter, West Virginia Turkey Thug. Yeah. I knew you would have something to throw at something, but
well, I my friends there's a couple of buddies from camp. They get a kick out of it, but the one guy, he's always when I do kill one, he'll always say the turkey's been thugged. That's one of the things he says. But now it's kind of funny because I am an NWTF member and I do have that license plate on the front. And it talks about conservation, obviously, but then I just got a license plate frame for the back that people know I'm passionate about West Virginia. I've got my West Virginia shirt on, but the top says Almost Heaven, and then on the bottom it says West Virginia Turkey Thug.
That's awesome.
And I don't even remember how that started and when it started, but that's kind of how people look at it and refer to me and stuff like that. But I just, it's fun, and we're allowed to have fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we do. It's like when you do these podcasts, I mean, there's work involved into it, but it's something you're passionate about, and It's fun for you.
Definitely. I have a blast doing these.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you do. And there's work involved into that.
Definitely.
So you think it's about a week out now on your shows?
Yeah.
You put them out?
I'm booked out about a month in advance, actually.
Okay.
And it makes me feel comfortable, in case something happens, somebody can't, do a show or whatever. I kind of have one in the bank. So now I have a show in the bank. So I'm about a week out from, recording to dropping the episodes, about a week behind. And, I actually am doing another podcast tomorrow, so I'll have two in the bank. So I might actually drop a bonus episode maybe next week, maybe have two shows or something. Or I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out yet. All depends on when I drop it or when I feel like dropping it, I guess. But it's always cool to have a couple, in the bank in case anything can happen. Like I said, we got some stuff going on at home right now that's keeping me from traveling and whatnot. So there might be a time coming up where I'm not able to record myself. So I definitely appreciate you coming on. Everybody check David out on Twitter, Facebook. If Facebook's your thing, you can check us out on Twitter as well. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, GoWild. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me or the show just about anywhere. And I appreciate you guys for watching and listening. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
Absolutely, Brett. Thank you again, buddy.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.